Welcome to Tub Talks with Damon. My very special guest today is New York personality, producer, amazing human being, Jed Ryan. Welcome to the tub.
Well, it takes one to know one. It takes an amazing person to know another amazing person.
Thank you. You know, this is like so much fun to have you here.
I've been wanting to do that
You've been
since
wanting
you
to
invited
see
me.
it.
Yes.
You know, I started these interviews almost a year ago now, because I realized I live in this town of some of the most amazing human beings doing such amazing work, and you're just like one of these New York personalities that are out there into the world and involved in the community, both in creative and supportive ways. So I'm excited to talk about that and highlight some of your work and contributions.
Well, thank you for having me. And you're right about that. The city we live in, just when you think that you've met or heard or seen the last talented, creative person in this damn dirty, expensive, noisy, crowded, and I love it so much town, there's another one waiting for you. And that's one of the great things, is just every day you get to meet somebody or get inspired by somebody.
Yes, I love this town for that. But before we get to all that, I want to ask you, what do you like most about your body?
Wow. I think sometimes we feel very helpless in this day and age, and we feel we can't control anything. And I have to say that our body, for the tiny amount of time that we're actually living on Earth, is the one thing that we have complete control of. And it's the one thing that will always give you an equal relationship, because we don't always get what we give, and your body will take care of you if you take care of it. And just about like 6 months ago, I said, oh wow, I'm starting to notice changes.
Like what?
Well, just, the inability to stay up as late or not get as much done as I wanted to, and not having as much energy. Mm-hmm. And I really took a good hard look, and I looked back at because I'm very into research about health and nutrition, and that's one of the things that if I was doing an interview, I would always ask about, so I'm glad you actually brought it up. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things that inspires me, is what have we been doing? Where have we gone, not wrong, but different? And I realized that maybe we're not exercising as much, maybe we are watching too much TV, maybe we're doing too much takeout, not cooking, eating too much packaged foods, and I'm like, okay, it's time to just make a change. And thankfully, my other half, Joe. Hi.
Joe.
Hey, Joe. He would have been here, but I don't think there was enough room in the tub for all three of us. And,
we'll get him.
I hope so. And so I said, let's just really be good. Let's cook more. Let's not because we would actually go out for dinner, go see a show, either on Broadway or off Broadway, and then go out for pizza. And usually the culprit was Two Boots Pizza in the Village. We would go out for pizza.
I love Two Boots.
Oh, yeah, who doesn't, but that's part of the problem. Okay. Oh, hello.
Hi. Double ducky. Mm-hmm. We got duckies.
We got duckies.
Oh, so you found that not cutting back on some of that.
Mostly carbohydrates and processed foods, because Joe's Italian, we both love pasta, we love pizza, and it got to the point where we were just eating too much of it. So we really scaled down. We're both on a low-carb diet. We do a lot more walking. During the pandemic, that's one of the things I discovered. When the gyms were closed, you could always walk or jog, and that's what I started doing through my neighborhood. I found things in my own neighborhood in Forest Hills, Queens, that I did not know existed, and it was because I just started getting out and either power walking or jogging, and I noticed a real change now. I really do.
What's the change?
The change is that I just feel better about myself. Some old clothes, even though they fit, sort of, they fit a little bit better now. Mm-hmm. Drinking a lot of water really helped. And I realized that my body was sort of dehydrated, because I would drink tons of soda and coffee, but never water. And water, you need a lot of it. Yeah. Just drink as much as you can. Yeah. And carbohydrates, I'm not saying carbohydrates are the Antichrist, but they're pretty close up there and all that. It's forced us to both find more creative ways to eat more vegetables, eat more protein, eat less carbohydrates, and it's really worked. And I think at some point in life, it's just become essential. And I think that just looking at history retrospectively, the American diet, and really learning from our mistakes in the past.
So what do you like most about your body right now?
Well, I like the way that, again, it's just very responsive to exercise, to diet and exercise.
You are a great fit.
Thank you so much. Oh, can't go too far up, but I just didn't like my stomach. I really didn't, because I just felt it was like I know a lot of guys that gave me the advice that once we reach a certain age, we go into dad bod territory and we can't shrink our stomach. All we can do is just make our arms and chest bigger, as much as you can.
Wow.
And so this way, at least it'll even out with the stomach. And I said, well, that's a pretty tall order, this is like bodybuilders territory here. So I realized that doing abdominals every day, and again, really laying off those carbs, just doing something every day, even if you just do jumping jacks at home, really help. So I'm glad my abdomen, it's not as streamlined as I want. Like you mentioned, rawhide. I'm like, that was back in 2011. It's rough, And I just, I like that. I like the way that when I take care of myself, it takes care of me.
That your body's available to take care of you and respond to the changes.
Right.
The intentional changes you're making.
I work a lot on my upper body, but, you have to take care of down below too. And
How do you do that?
Well, again, it's just kind of, in my mind, it's just like, I think that the below the belt is like, that's where the mind-body connection is the greatest. Mm-hmm. And so I really believe that keeping an active mind and really being in tune with like your sexual fantasies and that kind of thing, and not being afraid to, in my case, like I still value printed erotica and movies, and really allow my mind to like really go into that fantastical territory, because I've been married for almost 10 years now.
Wow.
And it's just too easy sometimes to become like complacent. But what Joe and I do is we love seeing sexy theater and watching sexy movies and sharing our sexual fantasies together. He's not the kind of guy, neither am I, that if we see a hot guy on the street, we're just like, oh, look at him. We're not the kind of thing, oh, don't look at him. No. Good-looking guys are like a dime a dozen. In New York, they're about 8 cents a dozen. And we take that back into our own life at home. And you just really allow that sexual energy. And
so that's a conversation, that's an experience you're able to share with your husband of 10 years.
Yes.
That sounds like a wonderful way to communicate and connect with a primary partner is through the realm of erotica and being so open. Was that ever difficult for you two to be able to do that with each other?
No, we've been pretty lucky in that regard. We really are.
Well, I don't know if it's luck. I think sometimes people who are just open about who they are and attract people who are open about who they are, and then there's sort of not an awkwardness with it if people are just like, yeah, sexuality and an erotic contact is a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, and we are like that. I believe that we've done a few things together that maybe some couples don't do. They just feel it's just not within their comfort zones. But to me, what I feel is like when we go to certain events or certain parties and all that stuff, we're always make sure that we bring that home with us. And we allow that sexual energy. I mean, I think it was Mae West who said the sex drive is really what guides us. I like to add yes, but the creative drive adds us too, That's why we all live in New York. And I think they both work together, and you have to keep that open. And then I find that there's no greater mind-body connection with like what's down below and all that. So, and I want to keep that motor running as long as I can,
So you mentioned like when you say down below, I'm assuming we're talking about the penis. Like
yes.
This is Tub Talk, so we're naked.
Yes,
so we're just going to talk
we're
about
naked. Yes.
Addressing the connection between your penis and your mind. Can you say more about that?
Oh, absolutely. I just feel that if you keep your mind clear, you really keep the blood flow clear, and that will reflect in your penis and all that. Because I know that there, a lot of guys, like I never took an official survey, but I don't know how many guys are still doing their thing, can I say, still
anything.
Fucking and sucking
it's Tub Talk. We can say anything on here.
At age 70 and all that. I'd love to find out more about that, but I think it's just a mind that like, you want to just, again, keep the mind clear. One time when there was a problem with intimacy with Joe and I was ironically, it was when I was put on this drug called Zoloft, which is an antidepressant, but it's got some anti-anxiety properties. And that was because of my fear of flying. And it was my first long flight, and I was a mess. I've gotten over it since then, and that's largely because of my partner. I've gotten over that, and just a lot of hard work and not being afraid, facing your fear.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. But for a month I was on that, and to reduce the anxiety before my flight, because the flight was coloring every aspect of my life. But I noticed a few very unwanted changes there. I noticed that even when Joe and I, even when we don't have sex, there's still always that passion about us. There's still always that affection, even when we're cuddling, and we call it power cuddling, even when we're doing that, on a morning or evening, whatever it is. And I noticed that some of that started to dim a little bit. And so I was just like, wow, I think it was really the drugs. They kind of like numbed a lot of the emotions there. Yeah. And I remember once we got off that plane, wherever we were going, probably California, I just threw that bottle, whatever was left, right into the into the Pacific Ocean and all that. And I just vowed I'm never going to do that again. I don't take any prescription drugs. I take vitamins. That's about it. Because I really do believe that like you got to keep your mind clear, and I just don't want that fogged up. I want to be in control of how I feel, and I want to be in control. And even if it's bad feeling, even if I'm going through anxiety or I'm feeling down, I just want to know that those are my own feelings. I don't want to have to medicate myself to feel a certain way. And I'm a nurse. All I do is give out medication. And of course, and if you need it, you need it. That's everybody's different. I'm not gonna. The way I live is not necessarily my advice for everybody else. Yeah. But I still want to be able to stay hard until for a long, long, long time. And again, I believe Miss West, the sex drive is very strong. The sexual energy, we derive so much from it, and I want to keep that going for as long as possible.
Right. So a lot of SSRIs or antidepressants like Zoloft are known often for inducing sexual side effects or inhibiting the ability to feel erotic connection. Though I was surprised you said they prescribed it for that purpose, because I guess typically I would think of Zoloft as being prescribed for someone who really has a pattern of experiencing struggles with depression independent of a specific circumstance. Perhaps they truly have a serotonin depletion, usually genetic, and like Zoloft can really, really help with that. It's usually, I guess in my experience, I would think like, okay, if it's really related to an event or like flying, that would be sort of in the realm where we want to like look more at a temporary measure like benzos.
Well, she prescribed that too. She prescribed Xanax.
Okay.
And I understand.
But Zoloft was still considered.
The Zoloft.
Yeah.
Zoloft would be like we just invented a new drug. Would be for more like long term, for like the month. So to kind of leading me up, because and if any of you out there have had a flight phobia, you know exactly how bad it can be. It can really color your whole viewpoint. That's all I was thinking about.
Oh boy.
So yes, now when I do fly, I may or may not take a Xanax and all that, but I prefer to dealing things, and it's not easy, I don't think I ever felt as bad as I did during the pandemic, just when all the things that you love about New York City are taken away. It's like, couldn't go to the theater, couldn't go to the gym, couldn't go do karaoke, couldn't go bar hopping,
All our usual outlets for releasing tension and stress.
What we love about this town to begin with. That's again one of the other reasons why we're here. And so when those were all taken away, I was feeling really, really, really down. But I just really fought it. And again, I think the exercise really, really, really helped. Exercise and eating cleanly to the best of your ability.
So that's where we're talking that connection between the mind, the body, the spirit, the head, the heart, the penis.
Yes.
All of that stuff can be put together in a way, aligned in a way that really can be conducive to great satisfaction, great pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. I know that as we get older, we have decreased sensitivity down there as well, and we can only come maybe like once or twice a day instead of multiple times. And so it's very easy to get hung up in like, especially during during the pandemic. I can understand how the PRN addiction got like really bad for a lot of people, and I understand that. And
now you mentioned being a nurse.
Yes.
And nurses and medical folks during COVID have just been through a war zone.
Yeah.
Can you say a little more like what that experience has been like for you being a nurse during the last 2 years?
It was really rough, and it really was rough because being a nurse or being in any healthcare field, as you know, some people may dispute this, but I think that there's only two ways to do things. There's the right way and there's the wrong way. And there's very little creative leeway in between. So it's rough in that aspect. And when I take my uniform off and go home, I look forward to like having fun. I really do. I value my free time. If it means sacrificing some sleep because we want to go out or enjoy the great day. I'm going to do that, walk through Washington Square. And that was rough because there was nothing available. Again, there was only like watching TV and going out and just jogging in the streets, and that was it, And I was lucky because I have a husband, so at least I had someone. I can't even imagine the level of loneliness that a lot of people must have gone through who didn't have a good support system.
Yeah.
So that was really, really rough. And even though a lot of great things came from 2020, we discovered the joys of outdoor dining, we discovered the joys of Zoom parties. I have absolutely no desire to go back to that year at all. None. I just want...
I'd rather not.
Yes, I just don't want... I just want to forget about it. And that was rough, and it's still rough. I mean, now we're back, we're doing surgeries again, we're packed, a lot of people have put things off, now we're doing them again. So we're just as busy as ever, and it's really rough.
So were you working directly with people who were sick with COVID?
I was, yes.
And in some of New York was hit so hard early on. People saw the trucks and the news coverage of the mobile morgues in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Were you treating people, saving lives or losing lives during all that?
The thing was, I was working on a COVID floor for a few months, and then they decided they needed me back on my old floor. So I was there.
Which typically would be what?
How long I was there for?
Well, like what would be your typical, if you were...
Normally I'm post-surgical.
Okay.
Yes.
So helping people during
post-surgery, yes. And I was typically only there for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And I check their wounds, make sure they walk around, make sure they're not in any pain, then kiss them goodbye and kick them out the door, and that was it. So with COVID, it was very different. I actually saw, this is why people that denied the disease existed, I'm like, you want proof? I've seen somebody go in a matter of 24 hours. They go from having mild symptoms and all of a sudden they're coughing and they're on oxygen and they're just uncomfortable, and I've seen that happen. The one thing I did find was a lot of the people had a lot of comorbidities attached to them too. And that's one thing that really taught me a lesson about how you need to, it's like Colin McGregor, the MMA fighter. Sorry.
It's okay.
It always makes me go limp there. Colin McGregor.
I'll have to look at that.
He's one of my crushes. You can all Google him at home, Conor McGregor. Yeah, he's one of my unrequited crushes and all that stuff. And statistically, the chances of anything happening are zero. But he does say something that, made a lot of sense. He says, I don't get ready, I am ready. And I was the same way. So I'm just like, you need to make sure that your health is as optimal as it can be.
Yeah. So you noticed that the people who got severely sick very quickly within 24 hours usually had another medical condition that they were struggling with.
It narrowed it down to 3: obesity, diabetes, and heart failure.
Wow.
And smoking was kind of like a 4th one in there too. But not an exact science. I mean, some people were perfectly healthy, and then the domino effect, they just got very ill very fast. And yet we know some people that have a cigarette in one hand and a Big Mac dipped into Nutella in the other, and they're doing great. And more power to them. Listen, everybody's different. When I'm in my job, it's my job to tell people how they should live their life, But when, if I'm
how they should?
Does
it work? Well, I'm just saying, so I know I was going to get you on that.
What's better for them? What's
ways that they can be healthy?
I encourage them
ways that they can live and thrive.
Yes, teach them ways to get healthy. If they ask for information, I will bend over backwards to find it for them.
Okay. So it's not, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying, in general, in my experience with healthcare, people are more likely to listen and really get what you're trying to help them with if it feels like they're involved and included in that.
Yes.
And usually the paradigm of should is sort of this authority, expert, top-down, I can tell you what you should do with your body. In my experience, people usually say, either they say talk to the hand, go away, or they're like, yeah. They're just going to you to death and then go outside and have their cigarette and their Big Mac.
Yes. And it's a shame because, nobody loves social media and the internet more than me, but we got to be careful because nowadays we have a lot of things going on where there's a lot of irresponsible information out there.
Yes.
And all I can do is just tell them, okay, this is what I go by my hospital's protocol. I go by accepted information from the CDC. I go by what I have noticed personally. Yes. I can tell you anything you want to know about a lot of procedures because I've seen like 100 of them, you know? So I can tell you what's to be expected. We're all different. Yeah. We really are. I can tell you what a normal blood pressure is, but at the same time, what it may be different for you, but that doesn't, there's still a normal range that we aim for.
Right. There's, but that's where I think like healthy. There's medically healthy parameters that we work within. Right. But all that to say, the work you have been doing, and so many New York City nurses and doctors have been through is just profoundly heroic in my opinion. And you are the soldiers, the warriors of this fight, and I'm just so grateful to you all because it's been hard. It's been a hard time.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been rough, and I really would encourage anybody who wants to go into the medical field to just really think about it carefully because, again, I always look back at history. When I need the answers, I either look at history or I look at the animal kingdom for answers. Yes, I do.
Interesting.
And I find a lot of them, and I think that there's a reason why kids do leave why many kids have left the house at around age 25, maybe 30, because there's only a certain amount of time that parents can be caregivers, I think. And so I think that after 25 years in the business, which is what I am, you do start to peter out a while. There's only so long you can be a caregiver. Now, Joe and I don't have any children. We only have 2 pets. So we don't have any kids. I can imagine like what it's like. A lot of my coworkers are mothers or they care for their elderly parents and all that stuff. So I can imagine, what they go through being a dual caregiver. And that's got to be rough.
That's a lot of energy that one is giving out. Wow. So you have seen with this how valuable it is to take care of your body, to take care of your vessel because of the long-term health, because of able to more readily fight off COVID, and just to enjoy your spirit, your body, your penis more regularly. Now, we were talking about aging.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that you and me and my earlier guest, Joe Mode, who was on episode number 2, we are all like we were born within just a few weeks of each other.
We were, yes.
So we are all in the 51 club right now. I don't know how long this, what we'll be when people are watching this years from now. But we all just recently had that. Well, last year we really had that 50 milestone, and this year we're all like 51. What is that? Given the context of what we're talking about today, what does that feel like to be 51?
Last year I turned 50 during the height of the pandemic, and I will never forgive the pandemic because in my mind it stole the last year of youth. Again, I was going by society. Society likes to say that, well, after 30, after 40, after 50, whoa, you can't say you're young anymore. You are officially middle-aged. And that was really rough because the bars were just starting to open up, but they had severe restrictions on them. You couldn't walk around the bar. You had to order food. You had to sit in your spot. Yeah. There were limitations on how many people you came. I just invited as many people as we can. I'm like, okay, this is what 50 looks like, take that, twinks. Yeah. And, I'm going to celebrate it the best I can. So I invited a lot of people, and a lot of people showed up, which was great. Some of them had to wait outside to get in, but it was great. We played Rock Bar.
Oh,
Rock Bar.
Yeah.
Yes, Yes, we had Joe Zazzo as our topless waiter, and wearing a mask, but very little else. And we did order food, which was great. All the food that I preached about against before, we had that,
Beautiful.
Who doesn't love chicken fingers and macaroni and cheese balls? But we, exactly. Yes. So I made the best of it, and I was very happy that it turned out to be a great thing, And but basically, it's the point. I don't want to stop ever doing what I'm doing. But you wanted to know about, before I babble on, you wanted to know about changes, right? Like,
what you have felt, what do you like about getting older? What
I like was because now your book, Absolutely Shouldless, I read it cover to cover.
Oh, wow.
I reviewed it for my blog and all
That's
that
right.
stuff. And that's when I really loved your work but it took me a while to really embrace that and really embrace what it means to just break away from those preconceived notions that people have of us. And in a way, how it relates to being 50 is how a 50-year-old should act, or should look, or should be. And there's no rules for that anymore, including how much you can and can't take on.
Yes.
And you have to just allow yourself some breathing space too, and be like, okay, this is my cause. I believe in this. This is what I want to do. And I am going to pursue this dream, and I'm not going to let anything distract me. And really finding like a clear focus. And I have ADD, so I'm very distractible. Which I we'll talk about a million things, at once. I'm probably doing it now. And but you have to learn, and again, you don't owe anybody any explanations. You really don't at a certain point at that age. It takes a while to really realize that how shouldless we should be.
Thank you.
Aim to be.
Well, thank you. That's been my experience of aging chronologically, is that I actually feel much, quote, younger or much more free, much more lighter now. I think I took things so seriously. I was so heavy, like emotionally, as a kid. And so the older I get and the more I deepen that message of living without a should, the easier life feels. So I kind of feel like I'm going in the opposite direction with all this stuff, because I feel more juvenile now than ever.
And you look great. And that's why it's like I could see this turning around and me asking you the questions, because when you announced that you had a birthday, the 51, I'm like, okay, welcome to the 5-1 club. And I wanted to ask you your methods for health and fitness and diet, nutrition, and if you had any, because
I'm sorry.
Aside from what you said before about a youthful attitude,
which is the attitude, I don't know anything about nutrition because I don't get it. But I think moderated pleasure, whatever that means. Pizza is pleasure, but I moderate that. I take prep to enjoy sex with the pleasure, and that's all in moderation. I love the work I do. I love the work I get to do every day. So and I love doing these TUB Talks. So most of my life, the majority of the energy is that of loving energy. And I also, we're in New York City, so I run around. I walk everywhere. I exercise. I do as much as I can, just like getting from point A to point B. And that's kind of just, and genetics. Thanks, Mom and Dad. It's basic because my mom and dad are both 80 and they're like fucking fierce. And I think that helps.
And I also want to say that also means fighting genetics when you have to, because my mom, who passed away 2 years ago, she actually had a lot of health problems. She was morbidly obese, and the few people out there watching this who might have actually met her knows that she was morbidly obese, she had high blood pressure, denied, had diabetes, denied, she had Parkinson's, denied, and it was just really rough. So in a way, people can inspire you in the way that you may not want them to, and inspire you to be better and take better care of yourself to avoid that. So you can learn even from the bad things.
Well, our parents are teachers, and we can always learn, I think, from the things they've done in their lives, from their struggles, and maybe sometimes when they lost a battle or weren't able to have what they wanted, or the choices they made. It's like we can learn from that.
Yeah.
But
there's physical things we don't like. My butt used to stick out more, and now I force myself to do squats. I want it to stick out again at a 90-degree angle, and sagging a little bit, which I don't like.
But do you get? Is that just you saying that, or are you getting complaints from men or from partners or anyone saying this to you, or are you just noticing this and being hard?
No, I think we're all our worst critic.
Okay. Because again, I just find the daddy thing is is amazing. I like that I have a little more weight on me now than I did 20 years ago. I always eroticized daddies when I was younger. So to actually be now in that age range, I think is very, very cool. And I guess I think about my own body. Well, the body, because I don't even think of it as my body. Damon is like an energy separate from the vessel of the body.
Oh, wow.
This is just a rental that we get for a very temporary amount of time. It's not personal at all.
Very, very temporary, unfortunately.
It's very temporary. So it's just whatever time I got with it, I just want to make the most of it in every which way possible and enjoy it. And but not take it all that seriously and not have shoulds about it. And that to me is where freedom is. That's where I can find peace with that.
Yeah.
You know, and just realizing now I've been out for 33 years. I've been out in the gay community for 33 years, and what that has taught me is that no matter what you look like, no matter what your age or size or hair or smooth or dark or light or tall or short, there's always going to be someone who wants to fuck you. And there's always going to be someone who's like, get away from me, bitch. And that was just as true 30 years ago as it is today. I mean, there's always a pot for there's a lid for every pot. You know, it's like, so knowing that, again, sort of helps me to depersonalize from that. That if someone's not into me, rarely is that anything to do with me, especially if they don't know me. You know, it's just like, I'm not a lot of people's type. And that was just as true when I was 20 as it is when I'm 50. It's just, that's the way it goes.
Yes. And to me, I've always been attracted to older guys too, always, and still, you know, still am. You know, Tom Skerritt, you know, if you're watching this right now, yes, you know.
Now that one I know.
Sometimes childhood crushes never, ever go away. Just saying, you know.
Peter Ruckle. You know who Peter Ruckle is?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Oh, shit. I just drank water. Oh, sorry.
Peter Ruckle made us almost lose our water. Wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, so that, you know, he's still gorgeous too.
Yes, I agree.
So all of this to say is like, now in your life, you have put all this experience, this mind, body, spirit into your creative work. And I definitely want to ask you about that, because this is going to be airing all the time, but this is going to go up when we're kind of in Pride season. So happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride, everyone.
And you have recently produced and distributed a film that incorporates some of these themes. So let's talk about that.
Well, for a while, and I think in New York, now that's why I have to laugh, because the recent Facebook headshots thing, people that I never knew were into performing or had performed all have headshots all of a sudden. And it makes you think, it's like, okay, do we come to New York because that's secretly our goal, to be a performer? So I was auditioning for a while. I have a profile on Backstage, and I was going to a lot of auditions, and I was trying to get a better view, because as you know, a lot of our friends are actors and performers and singers and burlesque people and DJs and all that stuff.
They're very resourceful.
Yes, very resourceful.
Very creative.
And so occasionally, like, I would be like, well, maybe I should just dabble in a little bit. Got my profile on Backstage, went to a lot of auditions, and had some success, but I noticed a lot of things that I did not like. I noticed that there was a lot of ghosting going on, where you would actually, and this is a bad thing, that we've done this to ourselves. We agreed to be in a project for either no or very little money. And then, it's exploitation. I don't care if, like, the project finds its completion and it's satisfactory to everyone, but a lot of times it would never be completed. And you just would, so basically your work was just wasted. It really was. Yeah. And I found myself just not doing the things that I really wanted to do as an actor. It's someone else's creative vision. So Clover, Lady Clover Honey, I'm sure you know her. We've been friends since God was a child, and so she originally had sent me this script, which was very long, and it was a horror movie, Necrosis Moon. And I'm like, Clover, I would love to produce your first film. But then I'm looking at it, I'm like, this would be a very expensive picture. You have a haunted house burning to the ground, and you have a huge cast, and there's a full-length feature film. This is very expensive. So she says, well, there's another project that I have. I think you would like it. It's a short film, a short comedy. And she showed it to me, and I liked it immediately. It was called Modest Male Exposure, and it basically explored, in a short amount of time, like, differences, attitudes towards nudity and modesty between men and women, and between men of different ages, too. And it really explores that in a mockumentary style way. It's not meant to be taken seriously. There are a few explorations of transgenderism and views on that, and views on LGBTQ people and that kind of thing, and differences between men and women. But mostly it's a mockumentary. It's meant to just make people laugh and maybe think a little bit, and
about their bodies, about how they see their bodies.
That's definitely part of it, yes, because there's one scene in there where me and 3 other guys are in the locker room together, and we're all naked, and we talk about the differences between younger guys, how they have more modesty and more shyness than older generations, and where did that come from,
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, Because it almost seems like there's this, and it talks about like, well, maybe it's differences now. Everybody's got a camera on their phone, or maybe, maybe it's just like some homophobia or transphobia about that kind of thing too. But basically, that's what it explores. And I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I have a few rules. One, I want all my actors to be paid. Two, I want the film to be completed. I'm not going to have this project dangling and leaving all these people disappointed. And three, I want it to be a fun and productive set, And that's what we did. And Clover and I shot it in the course of about 9 months, scene by scene. And we had the first screening at Rock Bar, and it was amazing. We had a great turnout, and they showed the movie on like all these different screens. People that came there, all of a sudden they have 4 penises competing for attention on the screen. They're like, oh man, I just came here for like, I just came here to hear some Rihanna, and they didn't know what they were in for. That it was a movie screening. Then we had it again at a theater, another screening in NoHo, and that was a great, we got to do a birthday party for my friend Francisco at the same time. Now the movie is going on to the film festival circuit, and hopefully will be seen by more people before we finally launch it on some kind of streaming services for all of our friends that want to see it in other countries, Malta and
wow. When you say the film festival circuit, so you mean throughout this year, it may be playing in like specifically queer festivals that are happening?
Oh yeah.
This is Pride Month. Is it possible that there's a lot of film festivals going on where people are living or watching this?
I hope so, yes. My PR guy, he's purportedly a whiz in that kind of department, so I'm hoping, Jay Michaels, I'm hoping that we could definitely get the word out and word of mouth as well. And it's definitely a specific audience.
What's the specificity of the
Well, I have to admit, anybody that's not automatically offended if they see a quartet of penises staring at them in the face.
I don't think anyone watching this show would have a problem with that. People tell me I'm wrong.
Exactly. Yes.
These bathtubs are...
exactly. So, people, again, the nudity was kind of like, I think very essential, because it would be hypocritical on my part to have a movie that deals with that subject and not have actors that wanted to, or that were comfortable with being naked. And in this case, I got ones that wanted to and were comfortable with it too.
Yeah.
And it was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. We know a lot of talented and creative people.
Yes.
So if they were willing to be naked and if they wanted to act, I was willing to look into them and all that stuff.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I was, let me know when you're filming the sequel. Because, so this is the kind of thing that, again, for me getting older, I probably would never have even thought about the option of doing something like that in my 40s, anytime before turning 50. Now I'm just so in this mode of like, I have 0 fucks left to give. And because everyone does have a phone. That's the thing for me. It's like, because everybody has a phone and everybody has seen each other's penises at some point, who cares anymore? It's like all that stuff, all that sort of forbidden nudity stuff that we grew up with seems to be gone now.
Exactly. Well, I remember, I'm a very shy person. I really am. I'm very shy. I wasn't the kind of kid that would walk around in my underwear at home, or I wasn't even barefoot, in front of people I didn't know. I was very shy and very modest. And, but still, I remember very vividly in high school when they have one shower spout over here and everybody has to gather around it. And you were so close to the other guy, you were like, hey, Damon, did you know your pubic hair grows counterclockwise? That's how close you were. So the fact that nowadays there's just there's curtains and everywhere, and most showers are private and all that, and people are funny about that kind of thing. Listen, the times, they're changing,
Do you think our culture is going more in the direction of accepting and embracing nudity, or do you think we're going, like you said, do you think young people are going in the other direction?
I think we're going in the opposite direction. I really do. And I just don't get it though, because nowadays anything you want to find is on the internet with a click of a button. You can find anything.
That's why it's so normalized.
It shouldn't be shocking, but I think people draw the line when they're actually with others and all that stuff. So my feeling about this is just, like you said, you reach a certain age and you're like, wow, 20 years from now, we're going to be looking at this and being like, wow, we were pretty good looking back then. So
in 20 years from now, Jed, we're going to be with this tub and you're still going to be holding it together.
Well, at least I don't have to figure out what to wear, you know.
Yes, you don't have to figure out what to wear.
Exactly.
But, you know, so this is kind of my vision. It's like, what about us, our cohort, meaning those of us, you know, in our 50s and 60s and 70s, really pushing making a different kind of blueprint in terms of aging with empowerment, with pleasure, with purpose, with empowerment, and being very clear with our bodies and clear with our minds. And if we do that in a purpose-filled way together as a community, I think this whole aging thing is going to be golden. I think it's going to be really different. And it is going to set a blueprint, I think, for future generations who hopefully will get older with less fear, with less anxiety about that. Because we don't really have, you and I, in our cohort, don't really have a firm blueprint for how to do this. It's almost like painting on a blank canvas. So in some ways, I think that's terrifying for a lot of people. In other ways, I think that's really, really exciting that we get to participate in history in this way.
Yes, and I think that we actually have an advantage that some of the younger generations don't have, is where, you know, before, I mean, when I first came out of the closet in 1994, there was Next Magazine, and there was HX Magazine, and there was the Village Voice, and there was no internet.
Yeah.
So basically you had to go out there to meet people. And a lot of the younger generation, and of course we go out, we see a lot of people out, which is fantastic, and I love that, but a lot of them may not realize that that is the way to do it. You know, you can only get so much out of staying home and, you know, on the internet, or, you know, spending so much time on your phone, you know.
Right.
And I really hope that, you know, I think that that's something that we have an advantage for. I mean, Tim Moss, whose birthday we're just at, you know, 60
former guest.
He was a former guest. Yes,
just turned 60.
Just turned 60. And yet he's in all 5 boroughs plus Jersey City on any given day. Yeah. And he's really out there. And I just did this show for Jay Michaels. It was called Under the Influence. Keep thinking of that Vanity song. You got me under the influence. Yeah. And thank you. She was beautiful. She died. And so I keep thinking about that, and I'm just like, wow. And in my mind, Wendy Stewart and Tim Moss, they are more influencers because they put themselves out there and they spread the word, and it's just, you have to maintain that energy.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, you know. We talked about not being able to stay out as late, not being able to get by on so few hours of sleep. But in my mind, you have to fight it. My free time is very valuable to me. Yeah. And this is not going to come out right, but like the older I get, the more free time, the more valuable it is, you know? It's just, it really is. You just don't feel like you're in your 20s or 30s and I have so much time for that. I have so much time for that. I have so much time for that. If you want to make that movie or write that book, or even visit that country, you better just do it, you know, because you may not be able, you know, your time is not as infinite as it once was. So.
Yeah, I mean, even before COVID, I wasn't one who tended to procrastinate shit. It's like, if I want to do stuff, I do stuff. If I move to New York, I move to New York. You know, but now especially, I think people are understanding that if you want to take that trip, if you want to take that adventure, this is the time to do it.
Yes.
Tomorrow is not promised to any of us.
Exactly.
And I want to thank you again, because as a nurse, this is something that you are exposed to pretty much every day. And, you know, it's a good lesson for all of us to be reminded of, about taking care of our bodies and really maximizing the amount of time
and still having fun. I mean, I believe you should have as much fun as possible without losing your head.
But I'm a firm proponent.
You have to aim for having as much fun as possible without losing your head, you know? And I just want to backtrack. You mentioned the movie, so the screenings and all that stuff. And my hands, I don't want to. I have 2 souvenirs for you.
Oh my goodness!
Yes, and these were from the screening, the one that was done at the NoHo Theater. Wow. This is a refrigerator magnet.
Oh!
Because we all don't have enough of them at the Broadway shows. This is yes.
Oh my goodness!
And this picture, this picture got me in trouble on Facebook, even though you can't see anything. But those are the 4 of us. Obviously, in the movie, the hands come off and all that. And these were the 3 of my Mark Eugene, Sean, and Rocco Chanel. And these were the 3 guys that
gorgeous, gorgeous. And I love. I mean, again, let's just, you know, I love that these are really, you know, really like attractive. I love natural looking guys.
Oh yes, absolutely. I don't know if
Okay,
there's
it'll be on my
notes,
refrigerator.
but,
Beautiful.
yeah.
This is so beautiful. Okay. Thank
And I got some souvenir not magnets, mints for
you.
you.
Ooh.
Yeah, these are exclusive.
Again, modest male exposure.
Uh-huh.
Tim,
Uh-huh.
thank
Yeah,
you.
we originally were giving these out to the critics because we just were
Okay, how to make out with good breath. Nice.
And this way, if they said, "Oh, the movie stinks," at least this way, like, okay, the movie might stink, but your breath will smell great.
Thank you. Oh my goodness! And what else do we have here?
Thank you for asking. So, speaking about health, I know that you are one of the fighters, for the vaccine trials, and you really worked
HIV
24/7.
Well, and COVID,
vaccine trials, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, and then when PrEP came along, you segued into that, and I really want to thank you for doing that. It really is amazing because you had a cause and you stick with it, and you're the kind of person that is like me. You'll teach. And you'll be so patient, you'll tell everybody everything that they need to know. You'll actually walk them to the nearest testing clinic or prescribe, the doctor, the Gotham Medical Center, I don't forget these things.
Yes.
So
shout out
like that.
Gotham Medical Center, Jeffrey Kwan. Love you.
Yes, and Dr. Bunghole, Dr.
Bungay.
Bungay, sorry.
Dr. Bungay. Who are both welcome in the tub anytime you want to be here. we got to work on them a little bit. But
he's probably going to yell at me because I think I'm due for my annual physical.
So I literally just made the appointment for my annual physical like 5 minutes before you got here.
Is that
because that's something I do. Well, that's part of using PrEP, and that's also something I do for my peace of mind that I never did until I started using PrEP when I was 40. Was seeing a provider regularly, getting everything, all the blood, all the calc, the bun, the whatever, all the blood levels just checked. It's the only time of the year I like to be normal. Is when I'm getting those labs done.
I think of normalcy the way I think of as modesty. Normalcy and modesty are both overrated.
Unless you're getting your blood drawn, and those are the times I strive for normal.
Exactly. So
yes.
along that line, I have a gift for you, and I know that there's certainly no shortage of rubber duckies here.
Oh,
but I wanted
goodness.
to get
What?
Now I tried so hard to find just the exact color for PrEP, for some PrEP rubber duckies there.
God.
Well, and because
these are slut duckies.
Yeah, well, that's one of them, and this one, Truvada Whore.
Oh
is
my
another
gosh, these are beautiful.
Hashtag Prep Warrior.
Oh,
I know you are.
wow.
There should be 7 because Prep, you need to take it once a day, obviously.
Prep Warrior. This says sexually liberated using Truvada.
Oh.
That's a slut. What we call the SLUT, a slut. The Truvada Whore. I love that.
This one is just a reminder. Yeah, that's the same thing.
Yay! Well, sluts want more company. That's okay to have more than one slut in a bathtub.
This one is actually the Truvada pill.
Thank you. These are beautiful.
I know there's one. I tried.
It's got 701 on it. But, yeah.
I went through a great deal of trouble trying to find just the exact shade of Truvada blue, and they swore that this was.
Work hard, play safe.
Exactly.
These are
You can also play hard too.
These are great, and tag once a day. Hashtag once a day is what this one says. And I love this. This is hashtag Truvada. Love it.
I didn't realize I made so many of these. I really didn't,
That's okay.
This is just another Truvada whore. You can show
Yay.
for a friend. The next Truvada whore that joins you in this tub. Yes, another Prep Warrior.
Prep Warrior. Oh, thank you.
And this one. Oh yeah. Yes. Oh, here it is. Here's another one of the.
Oh my goodness.
Here's another one of the anachronisms that stayed in there.
Proactive, responsible, empowered pleasure, which is what PrEP is all about. Oh, Jed, thank you. This is extremely. I have a new family. I'm thrilled.
Yes. And wow, so you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It takes a village.
1 week supply. This is in case in case you lose a couple of pills. You'll always have a backup.
Thank you. That is so sweet. And thank you for talking about PrEP. And I mean that is again. When people say, like, why are you healthy at 50? I'm like, well, I blame the PrEP. I've been using PrEP every day 11 years. That really, physically that's great, but mentally that has had such an amazing impact.
Oh, no doubt, yes.
So thank you. These wonderful blue ducks will be reminders of this for the future on.
Yes.
thank you so much for coming here, coming out to Brooklyn, being on the tub, and sharing your life, your mind. And
thank you for having me. I as soon as I saw the first, who was your first guest on there?
Matt Cameron was
yes,
the first.
as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is something I need to, I want to binge watch on this.
Yes.
Yes. And I love the way you ask questions that people want to hear the answers to.
Yes. Yes. Well,
So,
and this is, again, there's so much. People watch the news today, they're probably going to see something pretty traumatic and scary. But what I'm learning in all these interviews, all 53 of them that I've done so far, is that there's so many people in this world.
Did you say 53?
I've done 53 of these interviews. Not all of them are aired yet, but people like yourself that are just going about your lives, doing incredible work, medically, creatively, contributing to our community in really playful and purpose-filled ways. And those are the energies I want to be focused on right now.
Yes, and that's exactly why we need to be shouldless and we need to embrace our age, because there comes that point where you do eventually find out, and it will happen, and it's something we always have to work on, but you will find out what really makes you you, and be like that. And you'll find that when you can do that, body and mind, because they're all linked, you'll find that once you make that connection, you not only will you be able to help yourself, but you'll be able to help others better. You really can.
Love that.
And goodwill we have an infinite supply of that. We really do. And
so if people want to follow, if people want to check out the movie,
yes,
or they want to see at the point that this is airing, if it's streaming anywhere, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yes, it isn't streaming right now, but
it certainly could be in the future.
It will be in the future, and hopefully it'll be it'll be hitting the film festival circuit. And the best way is to just follow me on Facebook. Facebook, Jed Ryan. Follow me on Instagram, JedTime_stories.
Okay, that'll be underneath the blue ducks here. And if you're watching this on YouTube, the links will be underneath this
yes,
picture.
I will keep everybody posted. There will be a website in the future and all that, but right now, like I said, I just had to get in the tub and relax from the live screenings and all that. But there will be more. And I'll be recruiting all that talent we have out there for the sequel. So,
and when the website does go up, please let me know, because I'll link it.
Absolutely.
On this interview,
absolutely.
At any time. And folks, if you like this content, you can support it just by pressing the subscribe button. It's probably over this ducky here. To press subscribe. Share this with your friends and see what happens if you want to have these conversations with your community, with your friends. What does aging feel like? What do you like about the aging process? What do you not like about the aging process? Try having these discussions with your friends, because it's through these conversations that we create community, we create connection, and we know we're not alone. And so I'm grateful to you for being such an active part of this community, for being in my tub, and let's just keep fighting. Let's just keep talking about this. Okay.
And that's probably the final thing that I'll say is great about reaching a certain age. You can finally say, wow, I've been friends with you for 15 years.
15 years, and we're finally taking a bath together.
Woohoo! Yeah, even though all the studs are gone, but that's okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Bye.